Hey, welcome everybody to Headline Hits with me, Tamie Nation, on Liberty Warrior Nation, LWN Network. Glad you could join me today. It is Monday, March 17th, 2025. Happy St. Patrick's Day for those of you who celebrate it. We've got a lot of different stories and headlines to cover today. A couple of them are a little bit more story-like versus headline-like because I think it's really important that we gain understanding of what's going on a couple of these articles. So I am going to go ahead and get started on everything this morning. Once again, thanks for joining me. And if you can, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this out. So let's get going with headline hits today for Monday. The first story up is We Are Not Alone, according to a new documentary by Johnny Olensky that claims 80 years of lies and deception. The Age of Disclosure documentary, which premiered Monday, March 9th at SXSW in Austin, Texas, interviews 34 military and intelligent government officials who admit to the existence of UAPs, or unexplained anomalous phenomena, a new term for UFOs. Whistleblowers say in the new doc, The Age of Disclosure, that alien life exists on Earth right now. A few vets boldly state on the record that they are directly aware of alien life existing on Earth right now and suggest that spacecrafts have been traveling here since the 1940s to spy on our technology and technological capabilities. They add that the government's secrecy around these happenings has grown into what they consider to be a grave national security threat. One whistleblower, Luis Elizondo, a member of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, who says the film that concealment of this knowledge from the American public represents the most successful disinformation campaign in the history of the U.S. government. He added that the alleged cover-up amounts to 80 years of lies and deception. Former government officials also say that they have witnessed UAPs flying more than 10 times the maximum speed of the fastest known human aircraft. That means upward of 50,000 miles per hour. And adding credibility to the film, our own Secretary of State Marco Rubio and New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand both participated. Somewhat skeptical, Gillibrand says that the UAPs, which some scientists in the film assert could not have been made by humans, could actually be overseas experiments, she feels. It could be China, it could be Russia, it could be an adversary, she said. So Elizondo believes, without providing concrete evidence, that the extraterrestrial civilizations are studying the world's military. She says, he says, this is the biggest story there is. The director, his name is Dan Farah. What's a bigger story than an 80-year-old cover-up of the existence of non-human intelligent life and revealing there's a secret Cold War race among nations to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin? We've all been back and forth about aliens, UFOs, UAPs, and all of it, but we've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours, Marco Rubio says in the documentary. And on the documentary, we do not know whose it is. That alone deserves inquiry, deserves attention, deserves focus. Jay Stratton, a former Defense Intelligence Agency official and director of the government's UAP task force, says in the movie, I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings. Congress has been increasingly interested in the government's alien data. And if you didn't know, in 2023, Senator Chuck Schumer and South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds sponsored the United Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act. That's to increase transparency, but it did not become law. And that same year, retired Major David Grush, who is a former member of the Pentagon's UAP task force, told the House Oversight Committee's National Security Subcommittee that the U.S. has taken non-human biological matter from crashed crafts. That was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the UAP program I talked to that are currently still on that program, Grush said. He added, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years, I know the exact locations the UFOs are kept, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General. Elizondo insists in The Age of Disclosure documentary that we're on the verge of a watershed moment. This information could change the trajectory of our species, he said. So we know, we thought it was a joke. We thought it wasn't true. Then some people thought it was true. We've been lied to back and forth about all the different concepts of UFOs and UAPs. And now there's a lot more people talking about it. And UAP basically stands for Identified Anomalous Phenomena versus UFO, which is Identified Flying Object. That term, so you know, replaced UFO in 2022. It was coined by the U.S. Department of Defense to help reduce the stigma that was tied to the term UFO for years. This now brings, they say, science to the issue, and it broadens the view to include natural atmospheric phenomena, as well as other things outside the atmosphere, such as satellites, maybe bright planets like Venus. So investigators of all types have lots of questions about UAPs, and they believe they deserve serious scientific study. So this has been an ongoing thing. First, people say we can't leave space. There is no space, back and forth, back and forth. But now we have a documentary, and we have many people coming out talking about it and thinking that maybe there's a real threat to aviation, national security. Do they point to some unknown natural phenomena, these UAPs? And it goes on and on. So I found that very interesting, that this documentary really kind of brought up a lot of things that we've been wondering and considering. Next up, speaking of Elon as well, Musk has confirmed that SpaceX Starship is going to head to Mars at the end of 2026. So whether you believe we can do that or not, he is saying that in 2026, that the ship is going to be carrying Optimus, Tesla's humanoid robot. The tech billionaire said that if it all goes well, humans, that's you and I, could be on the red planet by 2029. Although he admitted that 2031 is more likely. The X account for Optimus replied to Musk's announcement with just 2 words: hold on. Starship is the world's most powerful launch vehicle ever developed, capable of carrying up to 150 metric tons, fully reusable, and 250 metric tons expendable. SpaceX writes on its website, in U.S. tons, that is up to 165 tons of fully reusable and up to 275 tons expendable. Musk has long talked about the dream of sending men to Mars and is often seen spotted wearing an Occupy Mars shirt. He says, I can't think of anything more exciting than going out there and being among the stars. It was at his SpaceX webpage that he quoted that, and he said, on its mission of making human and humanity multi-planetary. So we know that there is no doubt that Elon Musk wants to enter and venture into space. And speaking of that, left in space no more. The next story, SpaceX crew 10 missions successfully docked at the International Space Station on Sunday morning, setting the stage to finally retrieve the 2 NASA astronauts who have been stuck in orbit for 9 months. Members of Crew 9 and 10 each hugged each other during the monumental moment aboard the International Space Station. One camera showed the docking from the perspective of the ISS, with Crew 10 approaching as cloudy atmosphere over Australia rotates in the background. SpaceX and NASA engineers celebrated in their Earthbound offices as the Crew 10 capsule successfully launched onto the ISS docking port. American astronaut Butch Wilmore and greeted the arriving crew members when the hitch finally opened into the space station. Sunita Suni Williams smiled as she snapped photos of her crewmates, one of whom wore an alien mask. One of them wore that during the docking, which was pretty funny. Both crews embraced each other as the new team made their way through the hatch. Houston, thank you for tuning in this early morning, Williams said. It was a wonderful day. Great to see our friends arrive. Thank you so much. Williams and Whitmore have been stuck on the ISS since June due to their Boeing Starliner encountering a litany of issues, preventing their return, which was originally planned for 8 days after their arrival. The space-trotting duo were later folded into a plan to leave after the arrival of Crew 9, comprised of an American astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut who arrived in the ISS in August. That plan was also scrapped due to the lack of emergency escape pod for those who would remain on the ISS. Now, both Williams and Wilmore will join Crew 9 on their journey back home to Earth. They are expected to begin their return flight in the next few days. SpaceX founder Elon Musk said on X Saturday night, Crew 10 initially planned to launch on Wednesday evening, but the mission was postponed due to a problem with ground support clamp arm on the rocket. So a lot goes into leaving and coming back, that is for sure. So a lot of space news as we had headline hits this morning, but now we're going to move on to back here on Earth. The continuing story from the weekend was U.S. warships have shot down roughly 12 Houthi drones as Trump's strike against the Houthi terrorist group continue in Yemen. Trump announced decisive and powerful military action against the Houthis this past Saturday, March 15th. The drones were aimed at the U.S. Navy's Truman's Carrier Strike Group and were shot down well before they posed a serious threat, a defense official added. The latest military action came after nearly a year and a half of the attacks from the Houthis, both on commercial merchant vessels and U.S. military ships. In a Truth social post on Saturday, Trump wrote that he had ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. Secretary of State Marco Rubio gave an interview over the weekend regarding the Houthi rebels in Yemen, stating, "We are doing the world a favor by getting rid of these guys and their ability to strike global shipping." In the last 18 months, the Houthis have shot down around 174 naval vessels of the United States, attacking the U.S. Navy directly 174 times, and 145 times they've attacked commercial shipping. We basically have a band of pirates with guided precision anti-ship weaponry exacting a toll system on one of the most important shipping lanes in the world, and that is just not sustainable, Rubio said. We are not going to have these people controlling which ships can go through and which ones cannot. Rubio's response to the question from a reporter there during this interview said, "How long will this go on?" she asked. And he said, "It will go on until they no longer have the capability to do that. We before would shoot off a retaliation strike and they would launch a missile, then we would strike with the missile launcher." So he says that this is not a message this time. This is not a one-off. This is an effort to deny them the ability to continue to constrict and control shipping. It is just not going to happen. We're not going to let these people with the weapons able to tell us where our ships can go, where the ships of all the world can go. By the way, he said it's not just the U.S. We're doing the world a favor by getting rid of these guys and their ability to strike global shipping. That's the mission here, and it will continue until that is carried out. That never happened before. Rubio went on to state that the Biden administration didn't do that at all. The Biden administration would respond to an attack. These guys would launch one rocket, then we'd hit the rocket launcher, and that would be it. He said, now this is now an effort at this very time to completely take away their ability to control global shipping in this part of the world. And he said this will continue until it is absolutely finished. And if you guys haven't seen, take a look out there, because there are pictures of President Trump overseeing this U.S. military strike, as well as many statements as the mission continues, which is going to continue. The President Trump also released this statement: "To all Houthi terrorists, your time is up." So I think that is pretty a powerful statement, absolutely. And also a heads up, President Trump is going to meet with Putin tomorrow to continue discussions and hopefully find a Ukraine deal, some peace, some ceasefire. He's going to talk about dividing land, power plants, and much, much more. So we will definitely keep you posted on that. We also have another situation that happened with President Trump on Friday, because a reporter hit him in the face with a boom microphone as he was getting ready to board Air Force One for Palm Beach, and he stopped to take some questions from reporters. That's when a female reporter's boom mic hit the president's face, and believe me, he didn't look too pleased. Gateway and Pundit reports that, according to Grok AI, this is the first time a U.S. president was reportedly hit in the face with a press mic in history. They continue to express some serious concern, asking these questions. Why was the presser allowed to continue after Trump was hit with the microphone? Why was this woman not immediately removed from the presser, questioned, held overnight, and banned from all future press Trump briefings? Why don't we know her name 15 hours later? Even AI has not identified her yet. Where was the Secret Service? Are they okay with a U.S. president being hit in the face with a reporter's microphone? The boom mic could have easily been used to unalive President Trump if it was an assassin with ricin on the tip of the microphone. And this is an absolute security failure. So they continued with all these concerns, and they make some valid points because they said, how many attempts on Donald Trump's life must there be before the Secret Service tightens up? So Secret Service, they are asking, was the microphone confiscated and tested for any deadly compounds or elements? Why not? And if not, we the people demand to know who in command allowed the microphone to leave the scene untested and request their immediate removal. What is going on? The Secret Service needs to step up and start protecting President Donald Trump. And I agree, they do make some valid points because we just probably thought of it as a silly moment. Yeah, he got hit in the face. Yeah, it was very unprofessional, but it is very true. There are tactics that people can use. And the reason when you are in the general area of President Trump, you have to get searched. You have to go through these scanners, and it goes on to keep him protected. And we know all the attempts that have been made on his life. So I think they have some valid points and concerns. What say you? Normally we just kind of laugh it off and think that was crazy. But when you look a little deeper, I agree with this article from Gateway Pundit. They make some serious points. Also out there, President Donald Trump signed a groundbreaking executive order last week designed to clamp down on growing abuse of America's judicial system by radical activist judges and far-left organizations. The order specifically targets the reckless pursuit of frivolous injunctions, which have repeatedly cost taxpayers millions and disrupted Republican governance. President Donald Trump has been bombarded with a staggering 119 legal challenges in just 2 months since his January 20th inauguration. So you guys, that is just 3 days shy of a month, and he's already been bombarded with 119 legal challenges. These cases are driven by radical activist judges threatened to paralyze the administration before it can fully enact the mandate delivered by the voters in the 2024 election. So far, only 2 of these cases have been resolved. The memorandum did address directly to the heads of executive departments and agencies, instructing them to fully enforce the Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 65, which says anyone who asks a court for an injunction, which is a temporary order stopping a government action, they must first deposit money or a bond with the court. This money is intended to cover potential harm or cost the government should occur in court later decides that the injunction was improperly used. So they want the money up front. Trump argues that activist organizations have been abusing the courts, frequently filing weak or meritless lawsuits against the government to slow down or block policies they disagree with, often choosing sympathetic judges to hear their cases. These groups do not typically face consequences when their lawsuits fail. Instead, we, the taxpayers, pay the cost when the government policies are halted by these injunctions. The memo tells federal agencies to make sure that whenever someone sues the government for an injunction, the agency should request that the plaintiff, the person or persons organization suing, provides enough money up front to cover possible costs and damages the government might suffer if the injunction turns out to be unjustified. Agencies must also work with Attorney General to decide how much money to ask for, and they must clearly justify that amount to court. The goal is to prevent misuse of the court system by ensuring groups think carefully before filing lawsuits and asking for injunctions, because they will have to financially cover the government's potential losses if they are wrong. And that seems very agreeable to me, because we know how much our taxpayer money has been wasted on frivolous lawsuits and wasted in general, as DOJ has been discovering. The next article up, RFK Jr. is making some big challenges to our food. Hip, hip, hooray. He is directing the FDA commissioner to start the process of changing the rules to eliminate the self-affirmed GRAS pathway for new ingredients. He is also calling on the U.S. FDA and the NIH to continue to conduct and improve post-market assessments of GRAS chemicals currently in our food so we can rapidly identify the compounds that are making Americans so sick, and that Americans, consumers, and regulators can make informed decisions with our food. This is important to our process to pursue making America healthy again. Kennedy states because of the GRAS, it allows companies to add chemicals to food without testing them first and then be able to continue to use them until they are proved harmful to you and me, versus other countries which are forcing their food manufacturers to test the chemicals first before adding them into food. And we all know that it can take 5 to 10 years for certain chemicals in small, very increments and small doses to start harming people. Kennedy also said that he's calling upon the U.S. FDA and NIH to continue to conduct and improve post-market assessments of GRAS chemicals that are now currently in our food, so we can rapidly identify the compounds that are making Americans so sick. And I love that because we need that. It's about time we have things like that going for us to make us healthy, keep us healthy, and we hold those people accountable for what they're putting in our foods. Also, just in from President Trump's social media pages, the pardons, this is very interesting. The pardons that sleepy Joe Biden gave to the unselect committee of political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effort, because of the fact they were done by AutoPen. If you guys caught LW's show with Jeff B last week, they were talking about that very concept about AutoPen, what it is, and how that can be dangerous and not useful and used for the ways that it was meant to be. Trump continued to say, in other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, did not know anything about them. The necessary pardoning documents were not explained to or approved by Joe Biden. He knew nothing about them, and the people that did may have committed a crime. Therefore, those on the Unselect Committee who destroyed and deleted all evidence obtained during their 2-year witch hunt of me and many other innocent people should fully understand that they are subject to investigation at the highest level. The fact is, they were probably responsible for the documents that were signed on their behalf without the knowledge or consent of the worst president in history of our country, crooked Joe Biden. So some powerful information coming our way from President Donald J. Trump regarding these AutoPens and these pardons that he gave people before he left office. And another article we have, Commerce Secretary, this is good news, everyone. Howard Lutnick said President Trump wants no taxes for people who make less than $150,000 a year. In an interview, he stated, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. How about no Social Security tax? He said, these are the kinds of thoughts that will change America. I know this is what Trump's goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal. So yes, that is what I'm working hard for. This is a start towards we the people keeping more of our hard-earned money in our pockets, and I am thankful we have a president trying to make it happen. So there is so much going on with this Trump administration. We see that each and every day. It's hard to even pick through the stories to decide what to share, but some of them, I think, like I said, need more detail, need a little more time and definition so we get the complete story, especially with the shipping that is going on with Yemen and the strikes going in on Yemen, because for many, many years and for many, many times, we have only retaliated, as Mark Rubio was stating. That is what we not need to do anymore. He said we need to wipe their capabilities out because it just keeps happening. That is a very important shipping channel. That is for the world to use for the shipping channel. And he is right. They should not be able to control that. And nobody should be firing upon our U.S. Navy at all. So that was the headline hits for today, you guys. It is, like I said, St. Patrick's Day. So I hope each and every one of you have a super wonderful rest of your St. Patrick's Day. And I will be back tomorrow once again with another version of Headline Hits here on the LWN Network. Thanks for joining me, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.